I began thinking about architecture when I was in probably grade 11, and I accidentally came across some architectural equipment wherein we use all these drafting equipment, and I was really fazed by looking at the equipment. Oh, this is what I want to do. And for us, engineering meant making buildings. So it was a right combination of I was very good with art and so with sciences. So the culmination, I think, resolves to architecture always. So that's where I started off in 1998 from Chandigarh College of Architecture is where I did my degree from. 2003 is when I graduated, and before graduation itself I was working with the local architects of Chandigarh, Mrs. Gauri Birdi, Mr. Siddharth Vig. So we used to work out as interns in their offices, and then we had a 6-month internship which I did with architect Sanjay Puri of Bombay, and I was incidentally really lucky to have done my internship under Krupa Zubin, who was working with Sanjay Puri at that point. So Krupa Zubin from ZZ Architects was the senior I was associated with. So this was a great learning curve, and completing my course and coming back to Ludhiana is where I belong from, and Habitat Architects, Mr. Zafar Chaudhary and Mr. Ranjot Singh, that is where I did my first proper job. Training under them for a few years, and that's when I started on my own. 2005 is, or rather 2004 is when we started off with our own office in Ludhiana, Punjab. Moved to Gurgaon in 2008. The first thing that gives me a real high about a project is the client's energy. I think if a client is excited about the project, you get that vibe, and it suddenly brings up the project very, very beautifully. I love it when the clients are open to the ideas. Obviously, all designers would want that. But more than what they call as creative freedom, I love it when the client is superbly involved and is open at looking at various mediums in terms of design, in terms of material eventually, but in terms of a design sense when they are open to looking at an out-of-box solution and is not looking at Pinterest and house and stuff like that for design inspiration. There's much more in the world which is inspiring design. The design ideology is you have to remain true to the project. More than the design ideology of sticking to a certain design style, I think if it is a commercial project, it has to be dealt in terms of the fact that it has to surprise the person walking in. It has to have a freshness about it. Each time you walk into a retail space or an office space, or for that matter, any kind of a commercial, you would want an energetic feel to the whole thing. So I think it is the vibe that defines. While at the same point in time, within a residence, I feel a restfulness and peace should be the underlying design strategy. In the beginning of my career, I really looked at all the things in terms of modern architecture. Modern architecture meant that it was really clean lines. Modern architecture, at the same point, we are so classical and so conventional in our heart and lifestyles that our architecture has to speak the same language, our design has to speak the same language. So if you call my design style, it is eclectic. I really like the mix of both the worlds, of the modern and the classical. My contemporary leather sofa would always have a classical painting next to it. So it has to be a mix of styles and not really following a certain style, because that's the way of individuals that we are. I love the natural materials from the perspective that nature brings and produces a thing like nobody else. A man-made product can never replicate a natural product. The leaves of a plant can never be the same. The veins of a stone can never be the same. So that's the beauty of a natural product. But at the same time, when we talk of sustainability, let's look at products which are made from a lot of waste, also, while we are looking at natural products, going back to terrazzos, going back to concrete, going back to wisely using wood. But wisely using wood doesn't mean that we shift to WPC. Your wood should be used real wisely, because it's a rare, it's an getting extinct material. Wood is beautiful, stone is beautiful because that was made by nature. You didn't make it. But so is concrete, because concrete is a part of architecture now. Terrazzo and your natural building techniques is what needs revival. We are looking at doing lime plasters and lime paints on our walls. We are looking at going back to terrazzo floorings and concrete floorings. So that is what I think should be the vibe today, that while we are progressing, we are not letting our inherent arts die. They really need a revival, because why do they need a revival? Because they are sustainable, right? The natural building techniques are very sustainable. Yes, it slows down a project because revival and the curing times that a lime concrete would need would be much more than a regular concrete, fast setting concrete. So while we are looking at sustainable design philosophies, we also have to appreciate the fact that they will, as COVID said, and as our current scheme of things is, slowing down is not a bad idea. So all these products will need a slow yet very mindful thought. So while you use these products, you have to be so sure that this is the way of life. They will produce less byproduct. They will reduce the amount of debris we are throwing around. So I think mindful architecture and mindful being of life is more important than just blindly following sustainable product as your scene. Quartzite granites I was surveying are equally sustainable, because they are made from stone dust, which any which way was going to get into the oceans. It's not really important to remain in the awe of the material. The understated fact that you don't notice it is also and it seems like it was there forever. You understand the seamlessness of a product, that it just it's there and it's yet not calling in for attention is another beauty, and that beauty is naturally there in wood and stone, because the veneers are made very exclusive. I mean, the same grain of veneer you will not find in the other lot sheet. With the same product, if I would ask you, अच्छा आप American walnut के lot भेजो, आप Santos rosewood के भेजो, तो आपके दो lot same नहीं होंगे, right? So the exclusivity of the material is what brings in all the praise with it. And I think the wow factor comes from the fact that it is not calling out for a lot of attention. The ease with which it stays as a backdrop is what is the beauty. Once it's there, it should become a part of the whole, rather than trying to just be the superstar out of it. Especially in a residential space, in a commercial space, yes, you need those wow walls. See, I think trends come and go. Some things stay forever. So a trend post the pandemic is a wise usage, and a wise usage is what should remain, and mindful usage is what I've spoken about earlier, is something that should stay. There are some projects where I really like to use the light colors and a little more airy colors, as you can call them. And some products you are like, "Arey Loro Preto ka lot lao." Let's get the warmth in there. So it's more design based rather than trend based. I am somebody who doesn't follow too many trends. I think trends are very short lived. And natural products a thing of beauty will be joy forever. You will never feel tired of a product using it today, and you will feel tired of it tomorrow, then it's not worth using.